Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, the number one source for news, analysis, and discussion on the Detroit Red Wings, the NHL, and all things hockey. Here are your hosts, Ryan Hanna, Brad Crisco, and Evan Lopsinger.
When DeBrincat hit that post with the net empty from 10 feet out or whatever, I just thought, no, there's no way, right?
But maybe.
And I said that knowing there was a way, and I thought, 2 goals up, this won't happen. And then Florida scored, and I went,
You really are getting the Red Wings experience this year.
No way from 2 goals down. 1 goal fine, you ruined Talbot's shutout. No way, right? And then Florida, right back in the zone in the dying seconds with the shots on net. And that last shot, I think I blacked out. And I woke up and they were showing the replay of Cam Talbot's save. I was like, this team, man, even in a game that, statistically speaking, will end up meaningless by the end of the season, barring a miracle, they find a way to really squeeze your heart until the last second.
Well, it's a good thing our hopes are pinned to the Nashville Predators right now.
Yeah, as we record, we need the 2024-2025 Nashville Predators to mount to come back against the hottest team in the East, Montreal Canadiens, off vibes alone. So that's about where we're at. But hey, 2-game win streak for the Red Wings, so there's that at least.
It's the, I'm not going to say it, but you know what I'm thinking, the end of season heater that always happens.
Brad, we talked about this. I'll take this over the pathetic sputter out to end of the year, because you know what? They're not winning any lottery anyways.
They've already done that part of it.
Yeah, they did it early. They're just trying to rearrange the games this time.
I don't know why we continue to do this podcast year over year, because this season and last season are mirror images. We could have just done a couple sound bites, replaced some names, and just not done this year.
This is classic, NBA type, buy up a corporation, pump up the prices, sell it for parts. You're just trying to create efficiencies where there aren't any.
Create a private equity firm for our own work.
Department of Evan Efficiency.
That's right.
We should have a challenge where at one point in the middle of July, we just record an episode like it's today, April 6th. We don't really put much specifics in the episode. We just talk about what we think is going to happen that one, and then we just air it on that day and see if anybody notices.
Well, over our 820 odd episodes, give or take, 3 of those are actually AI Evan. We just never told you. So
that's true.
Have fun trying to find those out. All right, folks, welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, recording here after the Florida Panthers game, late night episode. Here to talk to you about all things Detroit Red Wings hockey, the world of the NHL, and more. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
On this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we're going to be talking about Detroit's 2 wins against Carolina and then tonight against Florida, which just wrapped up, and where that leaves them in the playoff hunt and or draft lottery chase, whichever your flavor is. I've been calling them the diluted rooting guides because it just feels that way either way. But hey, that's what we're here for. Takeaways from those games, as well as updates on other Red Wings in the system as the Griffins get a boost with players sent back and some young stars there really, really excelling. We're going to get into some more league news and conversation about what could happen across the league. The big story of the league, obviously, today and going forward is Alex Ovechkin breaks Wayne Gretzky's seemingly unbreakable goal-scoring record to become the all-time goal-scoring leader in the NHL. We're going to get into a prospect profile and more before overtime. Before all that, I want to let you know that the Winged Wheel Podcast is primarily supported by our Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast if you want to support the show and join the Dub Dub Club. You get access to benefits like our Patreon exclusive bonus overtime episodes. Record right after these main ones. We let loose. We have fun. I throw in bloopers in there. You get thoughts with Evan, some pretty off the rails stuff in there, but it's a good time. And we answer any questions that didn't make the main show. You're also automatically entered into all of our giveaways. For example, we give away 2 tickets to every Detroit Red Wings home game, all of them going directly to our Patreon supporters. Additionally, you get access to our Patreon exclusive Winged Wheel Podcast Discord community. Remarkable community, great time, and it's running its own Light the Lamp contest right now, which is just something that grew organically out of the WWP Discord. So again, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast. Detroit's 2 of their last 3 home games, Carolina and Florida. And that's a tough task, not back-to-back, but Friday night, Sunday, 5:30 p.m. game, although national game, so the puck dropped like 17 hours later. Drives me nuts. And not the best performances by the opponents, but Detroit did well to walk away with 2 wins. And starting with the Carolina game, it felt like, Carolina Detroit wasn't walking all over them, but they were keeping up in terms of getting their own quality scoring chances and capitalizing very obviously in the moments they needed to.
They only had about 45 seconds of true offense, but that was enough for 4 goals, which is all they need.
Was it 26 seconds apart for the first pair of goals and then 21 seconds apart for the next pair of goals?
Why waste time cycling the puck, trying to establish offense when you can just be efficient and score and then let Carolina do what they need to do?
Hysterical.
It's like a weird version of the rope-a-dope.
Yeah,
just
truly.
Let Carolina tire themselves out with the million shots they always take, and then when they take a quick moment to relax, bang, bang, you're up.
Yeah, they do the rope-a-dope a lot of games, but sometimes they forget the fight back and they just get punched in the face.
They just
for
do the
12 rounds.
dope.
It's learning curve, Ryan. Learning curve. They're getting there.
So Detroit goes up 2-0. First, a Ben Chiarot piss missile. It was DeBrincat hit the post first. Puck comes out to Chiarot. Chiarot, perfect shot, bangs it home for his 4th of the year. And then Marco Kasper, 26 seconds later. Great play from Soderblom and Raymond. Kasper gets his 16th of the year, and Detroit up a very quick 2-0. After the Canes made it 2-1, it was again another pair of Detroit goals. Patrick Kane, just a classic Patrick Kane goal. You're like, oh, he's turning on the burners. That's because he knows there's a chance coming on. We were laughing in the chat about it. Like he saves his energy for those short spurts because that's all he has.
That was the fastest he skated since the 2010 Cup Finals.
No, man, it's the fastest he's skated since his last overtime breakaway in Detroit. Hits the 20-goal mark, has his 100th point for the Detroit Red Wings, reaches other milestones as well, makes it 3-1, and then not long after that, another good play as Michael Rasmussen buries it in front from Tyler Mott, and Detroit goes up 4-1. Carolina comes back to the tune of 2 goals, makes it 4-3, and Alex DeBrincat on the empty net seals it for the Red Wings, and that is a 5-3 win for them. Fun game, at the very least. Personally, I thought that was a great game from Chiarot. There's no perfect Red Wing at this point in the year, so whenever you talk about it, someone's like, well, what about this play? It's like, yeah, it's not a good team at the end of the season. Everyone's going to have bad plays, even their best players. Oftentimes their best players of late. But I really like Chiarot's game there, obviously headed off by his goal. The one thing I want to talk about now very quickly, because I can't ignore it, and I want to preface this by saying we hate on this show to just beat up on a guy, because we're on this podcast twice a week. It's a long season. It's an 82-game season. And, these players are who they are. These contracts are what they are. So they don't need to be berated game in and game out. But that giveaway by Justin Holl in front was so bad. That was so bad. That was the 2-1 goal for Carolina. Justin Holl has the puck behind the net and just passes it directly to a Carolina Hurricanes stick that was already existing in the lane.
He tried to thread the needle through a guy who was 6.5 feet away from him, who
Not
was
even
almost in front of the net. There was all the pressure on one side of the ice. All he had to do was either off the glass and out, a Marchenko special, or rim it the other way, and he took the worst possible option.
And then promptly steps in front of Talbot to, I mean, if you've ever been a defenseman, you've been caught out and your brain just freezes, you can see what he did there. He was like, oh, I got to do something, but then didn't want to mess up again. So just screamed Talbot for the shot.
He's trying to use his face to make up for it.
Carolina buries it, and it was, yeah, Jackson Blake puts in his 15th of the year.
Nobody feels worse than Justin Holl in that moment.
No.
You want to just pull the trap door and escape planet Earth at that moment.
After like the partially tongue-in-cheek, partially like you had the hope of maybe he can be just, you don't notice him on the ice okay this year at the start of the year. It's just been a year from hell for him, and it's been to like very few people's surprise. And yeah, we all know what's coming for him, honestly. His time with the Red Wings, more likely than not. That was a rough watch.
Listen, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It was just a stick in the lane, and you see that pass a million times a game where, it'll be a Raymond or whoever, and they'll just make a nice saucer pass over the stick, and no defender's got good enough reaction time to be able to swipe it out of there. The two caveats I need to make here are, one, it's Justin Holl, and two, the front of your own net's probably not the place to try that. You do it through the neutral zone or in the offensive zone, hell, even up the boards in the D zone. I'm okay with you trying to thread that sauce through. Not the time or place for that one.
You can make a long career in the NHL as a 6'7" defenseman just by making plays up the wall, keeping guys to the outside, and just being as invisible as possible.
We're doing this tongue in cheek because they won the game, so it's, there wasn't like that was a game losing moment. A fun little takeaway from that game, I talked about Patrick Kane's 20th, now has the most 20-goal seasons by a U.S.-born player in NHL history. So even with Patrick Kane taking, a step back this season, we've seen his game isn't the same as last year, but he has found ways to still be effective and deploy himself efficiently, we'll call it, offensively. 20 goals, 33 assists in 65 games. And you think about how his game really turned around when they switched from Derek Lalonde to Todd McLellan, and how the offense turned around as well. Like, Patrick Kane, for all the warts, like, you take him as he is because he is able to do that. And some people might be surprised to see 20 goals, but that's another solid season from Patrick Kane.
He's done everything they've asked of him, except back check, but I don't think they really asked him
They
to
didn't
do
ask him to do that, actually.
Yeah.
No, and it's impressive.
It's like asking Evan to remember what time we're recording.
No chance.
Yeah.
That's not if that was a performance bonus, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, is that what we have to do?
Yes.
We got to scrape together some nickels, Brad. The rich get richer.
But it really is remarkable because he's been so good relative to everything with the Red Wings. You almost forget that he's not that far removed from that hip resurfacing surgery. We don't talk about that anymore.
Yeah.
And again, it's impressive. Easily the most impressive record that was set in the NHL this weekend.
I would say so. And I mean, everyone's talking about number 8 and his goal from that night, because that was the night where Ben Chiarot obviously scored the first goal in the game against Carolina.
Yeah. And as an homage, Kane with his 2 8s decided, hey, I'm going to get
from
in on
Chiarot's office on the left-hand side.
And he took the clapper, not like, someone else who scored from that spot, but not even on a slap shot today.
Yeah, jeez.
Wow.
A hell of an homage, though. You got to respect Ovi for respecting Chiarot.
I think I heard that Ken mentioned on the broadcast, and it's not going to be an exact remembrance. Let's just go back to my goldfish memory, that Patrick Kane has like 100 points in 115 games played as a Red Wing. No, that can't be right.
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah. That's going all the way back to when I said that 3 minutes ago.
You did not say that.
I said that was his 100th point as a Red Wing.
No, but in like 115 games. Like
yeah.
For a guy who was coming off that type of surgery with a big, that being a big unknown for NHL players, it really is remarkable. He's been one of the most consistently productive Red Wings forwards in that time.
Yeah, and you actually did get that exactly right. 115 games.
Wow.
And, like, we talk about, is that surgery a success, and no one's really done it and come back and been productive or gotten back to where they were. Yeah, Kane isn't where he was, but you wouldn't expect him to be prime Kane. You would expect him to be, tail end of his career, 35-year-old Patrick Kane. And that's, putting up 20-goal seasons consecutively for Detroit, 100 points in 115 games, that is what you would expect from a guy who is healthy at this stage in his career. So, yeah, like a very successful surgery, and you have to hand it to him and the medical staff because he kind of broke the mold there. There's going to be athletes in other sports as well who are going to be looking at this as a winning case. It helps that he is a generational talent, probably the greatest American-born player of all time,
and his game's never been predicated on playing a heavy style game with heavy contact, right? I would be nervous if it was someone like that, someone who played heavy minutes like Moritz Seider, really anyone who doesn't play total finesse games. So
You don't see Kane in the board battles a lot, or
he's there.
is he?
I'm
He's
being
floating-
nice.
He's floating outside of him, waiting for the puck.
Yeah, he's around.
Yeah.
The polite way is he's there for support.
That's right. Yeah.
He is the support on
He's
the
at
play.
the F2, yeah, or maybe the 3.
Yeah. Anyways, the Red Wings win, and I think the way we phrased it was their sliver of hope remains just that, a sliver, but it remains alive because Detroit at this point is at the point in the season where any win is just kind of keeping them at stasis, and any loss is burying them, and that's pretty much all she wrote. So they move forward there, and then they come to their Sunday game against Florida. Florida, who had pretty much everyone injured. Did you see the list of Florida Panthers who are injured? Matthew Tkachuk, Aaron Ekblad, Dmitry Kulikov, Nico Sturm, Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett, and Gustav Forsling.
So Detroit beat the hell out of their AHL team, right?
Brad, shut up. They
Right?
won. They won, Brad.
Right?
Sure, they had to use Detroit's E-Bug as their like third line left winger, but they still won. It was, you were watching, you're like, yeah, this is a shell of Florida's team. Even late in the game when Gadjevich was like trying to mix it up, and eventually there was a big scrum after Chiarot laid a big hit on Samoskevich a couple minutes later. Greer went after Seider, Gadjevich on Chiarot. You're like, this feels like AHL version of Tkachuk and Bennett trying to rile their team up at the end of the game.
What's it? Run them up, fill them in. Well, Florida couldn't run them up today, so
No.
they went with the alternative.
You know, we've sung his praises a lot. You know what I'm impressed by always is Paul Maurice. Like, this is a guy where at the end of the season, he wants his team to be ready, but he knows his players are all injured. He knows his team still isn't where they are meant to be for the playoffs, but it's coming and they're going to get healthy. They're losing this game, but he's not panicking. He's not making a mountain out of it. He knows where to kind of focus his energy and when to rile the guys up. Like getting interviewed, mid-game interviews, which I'm sure coaches hate. So like, he's so good about his time, like gives really good insights, which coaches, I never really think that they have to. I think mid-game interviews are a little bit stupid from a game ops standpoint, but gives really great insight and just seems so calm and measured. It's not going to work for every team in the league, but that's a guy where I'm like, I'm happy he got his cup because he's on that all-time dude list for me.
Oh yeah, he's just incredibly thoughtful and insightful, and he knows how to. I know it sounds simple, but it's a hard thing to master, especially in the NHL. He knows how to talk to people. He can change his tune to a locker room full of NHL players, trying to get them revved up for a meaningless game or game 7 of the Cup final, or he's just talking to a sideline reporter or a random fan. Like he's an excellent communicator and knows how to change his tone given the circumstance.
So Detroit wins this game 2-1, and the way they went about it in the second period, it was Alex DeBrincat, who had just previously missed on a great opportunity, missed the net on the power play. The play comes back into the zone, and nice play. Kane, Lucas Raymond with how many times have we said this? Deceptive, almost no look, if not completely no look pass, fools everyone, including the goalie, to Alex DeBrincat on the left side. DeBrincat doesn't make a mistake this time. Raymond's 49th assist. Alex DeBrincat reaches 35 goals. Some trivia coming for you later about that. 35 goals on the power play. And then 7 minutes later, JT Compher from Marco Kasper as they break into the zone. JT Compher scores his 10th. JT Compher on a nice little streak here of points. I think like 5 or so points in his last 5 or 6 games. And those were Detroit's 2 goals in the game. Net empty at the end, as I described at the top of the show. Alex DeBrincat doesn't bury the the empty netter. Florida scores. Anton Lundell makes it 2-1 with 40 seconds to play, and they very nearly tied it. But Cam Talbot deserved that shutout tonight. We said like depleted Florida team. They still had 33 shots on goal, and Cam Talbot had to be huge for them, and he was, and that's why Detroit won.
Well, it's a fair battle. Florida was depleted. Detroit was depleted. Florida due to injury. Detroit because Detroit. So it was a good game. It was a fair game. And yeah, I was going to say, we make the jokes, but you can only play the team in front of you, right? Yeah. Would it have been nice to beat the Panthers with Barkov and Tkachuk and Ekblad? Sure.
Don't even care.
But it wasn't even an option. So you have to play the team in front of you. And did the Red Wings play a masterpiece? No. Did they play particularly good? No.
I thought they played like
Okay, what benchmark are we having relative to the Red Wings
Relative
standard?
to the Red Wings, Brad.
Okay, relative to the Red Wings, they played good. Relative to a team trying to compete for a playoff spot, they still left a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
But relative to their baseline, yeah, they had a good effort.
I think the thing that made this game closer than the Carolina game is that Florida wasn't wearing the stupidest helmet jersey socks combo I've ever seen.
That was a tough look.
That actively pissed me off.
I was like of two minds because I was like, you know what? I appreciate when teams try something different. Doesn't hurt at all. And Carolina usually is not afraid to try something different. Black helmet, white jersey, red pants, white socks. That's awful.
Maybe they forgot a set somewhere.
They've done this before. They've worn their red helmets with their whites. They've worn their white helmets with their whites. They just decided, let's take the one piece of gear we have that doesn't match anything and wear that.
So Detroit gets back-to-back wins, which is shocking. Absolutely shocking. And it sets them up for, again, it's just a sliver of hope because as of right now, you'll have the final score by the time you listen, of course. But as we're recording right now, the Habs are still up 2-1 against the Predators with 12 minutes left in the third. But Detroit has a Tuesday night at the Bell Center matchup against the Montreal Canadiens. And I don't care about what is technically true and not true. I do not care. That is must win.
The Red Wings don't make the playoffs. This is their playoff game.
You have to show up at that game. If you are the Red Wings and you want to make the playoffs, which every single one of those players does, there's not a single guy in the room who's doing what we're doing or a portion of the fan base is doing and thinking, oh, well, if you're not going to make it, I hope they get the best draft pick possible. They don't give a damn about the draft pick.
If they can't make it, they at least want to play spoiler.
Go in to Montreal, and that is the game of the season for you. You had massive games against Montreal last year, and you got it done. A lot of the same guys around. If you're going to catch them, it needs to be a win there, and in all statistical likelihood, needs to be a win in regulation. Because assuming Montreal wins tonight, Detroit is still a ways back from them, even though they've kept pace. The standings as of right now, before the Montreal game is over, Montreal, 76 games played, 83 points. So let's assume they reach 77 games played, 85 points. The New York Rangers, 76 games played, 79 points. The Detroit Red Wings, 76 games, 79 points. So they've tied them on points. They won't have the tiebreaker, though the Rangers have too many regulation wins. The Islanders, 76 games played, 78 points. The Blue Jackets, 76 games played, 77 points. Detroit is not likely, but if Montreal falters, they could be one of the teams to sweep it up. 6 games left. I think you can afford maybe one more loss, and it can't be against Montreal.
Can they even afford that one loss? Like, that feels...
It all depends
like
on what Montreal does, right? Like, obviously they need to make up ground, but with how some of these teams have been playing and their lack of consistency, maybe.
And the Red Wings are getting a little lucky. Like, even if you look at the last 2 games, Florida was very hurt. And there's probably no team in the league that has less to play for in the standings than Carolina. So they approach these teams at the right time. And looking at some of the really good teams in their future, there's realities there where those games might not matter to those teams. Like that second last game against New Jersey. Probably comfortable to say New Jersey will be absolutely locked into their spot by that game, so they might be resting guys. Dallas, unfortunately, probably has a lot to play for still. We know Florida and Tampa do, but crazier things have happened. But yeah, they've reached the point of zero margin for error, I think.
And that's how you have to approach it if you're the Red Wings. Like you're like, okay, I want to have a sliver of hope, and I want to make this because we do feel like we're only 4 points out or 6 points out, and that's a couple of games swing. Okay, you have 6 games left. You have a maximum of 91 points. 88 or 89 might do it this year, but you can't go in banking on that, obviously. So that's what the Red Wings have ahead, and they know their schedule is tougher than Montreal's. They know their schedule has been tougher than Montreal's or New York's or everyone else's. But you have the matchups you do. Now's not the time to think about, missed calls or missed opportunities. If you want to hang on. And, we talked about it a lot. People who want to tank and want the best draft pick possible long term, yeah, I think It's way better for Detroit if they're drafting, 8th rather than 13th and still missing the playoffs, of course. But you have to understand this team, like the players are who they are, and they're not going out there to tank. Like if you want to tank, that is something done by the GM and maybe the coach if you shut a guy down towards the end of the year. That you can't expect that from the guys on the ice. So whenever there's a win, you're like, oh, they shouldn't have won. Well, okay, well, turn back time and tell Steve Yzerman to sell guys off at the deadline. Like that's just not the reality of it. The players are going in with a mindset of, we are not eliminated. We don't have that E next to our game on the NHL standings. We're still in this. Anyhow, it's a sliver of hope. I think going into the game, it was like 4-point-something% chance of playoffs, according to Money Puck, and then Tankathon had them at like 5-point-something% to win either of the draft lottery balls. So
that's some sobering numbers.
yeah, 90% chance. It's just sad.
So since the odds went against us so often in the draft lottery, does that mean it's going to balance out on the other side of the scale this time?
For like the draft lottery or for playoffs?
For playoffs. We can't ever get the odds on our side on that side of the ledger, but if we go to the other side of the ledger.
Yeah, I would absolutely take that. So again, the Red Wings have the Habs on Tuesday, and then that's on the road. And then Thursday, Friday is a back-to-back, both on the road in Florida against Florida, and then Tampa Bay. And, one more home game Monday against Dallas, and then 2 on the road back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday on the 16th and 17th against New Jersey, Toronto. So not just tough and not just on the road, but also 2 sets of back-to-backs to end the year.
Yeah, and also the point you made earlier needs to be repeated. That gauntlet of Florida, Tampa, Dallas does not matter if they lose to Montreal. Doesn't matter.
No, it's a must-win.
They're absolutely toast if they lose to Montreal. If they beat Montreal in regulation, then I think we can have a serious conversation about can they go through this murderer's row to make it, but it's all irrelevant if they can't get past this one team.
All right, that's the Red Wings. Let's jump into some actually promising notes from the Red Wings system. 2 guys who were sent down, Dominic Shine and Austin Watson. This was from Bob Kaiser, and it was a great point that he made. He said, do you think the Griffins missed Shine and Watson? While they were on the Red Wings, Grand Rapids had lost 4 straight and scored only 5 goals. Once they returned this past weekend, the Griffins scored 15 goals in 8-3 and 7-5 wins over Rockford. Both Shine had 2 goals and 3 assists, and Watson, 3 goals, 2 assists, contributed mightily to the offensive onslaught. Grand Rapids' record without Shine this season is 4-8. Without Watson is 1-6-2. So massive boost back down to those guys.
And they weren't even the biggest offensive drivers this weekend, but they did help.
Amadeus Lombardi, in 18 games since returning from injury, has 19 points. I think Ice Hockey Gives noted 5 goals, 2 assists in his last 3 games. Nate Danielson, 2 straight 3-point games for 6 points in his last 2. Like, good time to figure things out and find some form again. And for Lombardi, that one goal he scored was absolutely nutty.
He literally was with one hand throwing the defenseman's stick away while driving the net with his other hand, and then still has the coordination to pull it around the goalie and tuck it in. Just incredible.
We know what the questions are with Lombardi. Is he going to be able to do that with the physicality and size in the NHL? But for him to do this in the AHL is a good first step. We saw from the Winged Wheel podcast night event with the Griffins, he's not a big kid. He still has a lot of muscle and frame building to do, but his talent shines through, man. It does not go away once he hits the pro level in the AHL.
His year-over-year jump, I don't think it's talked about enough. It's not that he improved this year. It's that he went from a 3rd, 4th liner last year who, did he even crack 20, 25 points last year with Grand Rapids? To now in a prolonged stretch in a critical part, he's over a point per game. And he's near point per game for the whole season. That's remarkable.
26 points last year in 70 games. And in 38 games this season, he has 34 points.
So he's past that mark comfortably in almost half the games.
Yes.
Crazy.
Elsewhere, not with Grand Rapids, but over in Sweden, Axel, Sandin, Pellikka, who I know a lot of people were hoping to see in Michigan with either Detroit or Grand Rapids by now. It was noted that he is now the sole record holder for the most points ever, 12, by a junior defender in the Swedish championship playoffs.
That's neat. He's played 8 games.
Talented. He continues to be what he is over there. Thank you, Ice Hockey Gifts, for noting that. I wish we could have seen him at the end of the season. It would have been fun.
Listen, 2 Skellefteå losses and 1 loss by the Red Wings to Montreal. We might see him by the end of the week. Probably not enough time, but next week, maybe. If he's motivated enough. Because that is a lot of travel to play 2, maybe 3 games.
And then elsewhere in Sweden, not officially Red Wings news yet, but Cam Robinson noted online that Arvid Holm, goaltender with Rögle, is expected to sign with Detroit at the end of the season. 6'5" goaltender. The 26-year-old won the Honken Trophy as the SHL's top netminder, posted a .925 save percentage across 35 games for Rögle. He was originally drafted by the Winnipeg Jets in the 2017 draft, never made it into an NHL game. So not unfamiliar, played a few seasons in the AHL and the ECHL, but now, presuming this comes through, would have an opportunity in the Red Wings system as a depth goaltender again.
Big goalie who can move, always worth a flyer to have depth in the organization. But now I'm just curious about the size of that trophy he won. Is that a big honkin' trophy?
Imagine it's very small.
That would be the funniest bit in
It's like
the
a pin.
No, instead of like a pin, I would like them to have this massive trophy case and like the picture with the commissioner and the goaltender both holding it with 2 hands. It fits in the palm of one. Oh, that's good.
Oh,
it's
God.
like what you give to like the 3rd place team in a house league tournament for kids that are 7 years old. Oh, that's good stuff. Please, to our Swedish listeners, if it's not the case, just lie to us and say it is. The trophy is named in honor of goalie Leif Honken Holmqvist, who was 3'4". No, he was actually 5'9", funny enough.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow, look at that.
The Brad Honkin Crisco trophy.
Yeah. You see Brad holding the Honkin trophy, and it's like the Stanley Cup next to him, and then the goalie Holm picks it up from him, and it's like, oh man.
Oh gosh.
That's good
This
stuff.
is off the rails.
Yeah, this is game 76 episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast for sure. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, collect ourselves, and hear from the sponsors of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Back after this with more. All right, if you're like us and coffee's basically the fuel that keeps you going, whether it's early morning podcasts, late night game rewatches, or just grinding through another rebuild, then you need to check out Coffee Cult. These guys are serious about coffee. They only use specialty grade Arabica beans from all over the world, and they actually work with their farmers to make sure every single bean is top quality. No joke, they inspect each one, and they won't roast anything that isn't excellent. The result is super flavorful and honestly superstar level coffee. And get this, they roast to order. So when you place your order at coffeecult.com, your coffee isn't sitting on a shelf somewhere, it's roasted fresh just for you, and then it's shipped out. That's as fresh as it gets. Their dark roast is a go-to. Smooth, heavy-bodied with notes of caramel and chocolate, perfect for cold mornings at the rink. Or try something a little different like the Sumatra with chocolate and brown sugar vibes. And they've got a killer lineup of single origin coffees from places like Colombia, Kenya, Brazil, you name it. Head to coffeecult.com, that's KOFFEEKULT.com, and use the code WWP to get 10% off. And if you spend over $49, shipping is free in the US. That's coffeecult.com, spelled with a K. Drink better coffee. Welcome back. On break there, we noted that the Predators are out shooting the Canadiens by a tune of, 34-17 with 4 minutes left. And the Predators are still down 2-1. So that made us sad. Here's something else to make you too sad. I mentioned Alex DeBrincat trivia. He hit 35 goals today. Great season for Alex DeBrincat. We're probably going to be talking about him as a candidate for team MVP at the end of the year. All that's great. 35 goal scorers on the Red Wings. Who was the last one, and how far back do you have to go?
For
35.
35 goals?
35 for the Red Wings.
I think I know the answer, so I'll let Evan sweat it out.
It's
for a
not
bit.
Anthony Mantha, right?
No, it's not Anthony Mantha. Although he
that,
did.
that is a very optimistic guess.
I know. I thought I would be off, but I thought maybe there was a year there where I missed something. I mean, he's started game 1 against Dallas with 4.
Just so I know if I'm on the right track here, the correct answer is now in the Hall of Fame, yes?
I will not answer anything because I want to just see where Evan gets
That's
to.
where I was going next. I was going to say Zetterberg or Datsuk.
No, but you're in the right.
You're warm. You're very warm.
Yes.
It's
going to make you sick, Evan.
I know that, and I'm trying not to think of obvious people, but that will make me sick. I don't know, Ryan. You got to tell me.
It was not Johan Franzen in the same year who scored 34. It was Marian Hossa with 40 goals.
Wow.
In 08-09 for the Detroit Red Wings.
Wow.
The season that never happened. We don't talk about it anymore. That was the last time the Red Wings had both a 35 and a 40 goal scorer.
Wow.
16 years ago. Thank you, Alex DeBrincat. I'm so happy we never really paid attention to that stat. And I have to tell you, if you're having a great day and you just want to ruin it, and you're like, oh, I'm way too up on my high horse today, I need to make myself feel worse, go look at the Red Wings goal scoring leaders.
Well, you brought up during our break, what was it, 2021?
Yep. And that was an abbreviated year, obviously.
Still.
Adam Ernie and Anthony Mantha in 45 and 42 games respectively co-led the Red Wings with 11 goals.
Shame on everyone except for Adam Ernie.
Anytime we're doing this podcast, we're like, oh man, the Red Wings are down in the dumps. Us three have to go back and look at how bad it was.
Justin Holl would have been on PP1 on that team.
He probably would have had 12 goals.
I feel like that was the season, or somewhere around there, the Red Wings' leading point scorer was Filip Hronek. Like
Ben Chiarot would have looked like Cale Makar on that team.
Filip Hronek, 26 points in 56 games. Dylan Larkin, 23 points in 44 games.
Oh, no.
Do you want to know who was 5th in points that season?
Hold on.
What year was that, sorry?
2020, 2021.
Was it Franz?
It was not Franz Nielsen. Franz Nielsen was...
Thomas Vanek was not on the team that year.
It was Filip Zadina. 6 goals, 13 assists in 49 games.
Good God.
Yeah. Anyways, so...
We've come a long way.
Don't take for granted that the Red Wings have Alex DeBrincat, a 35 goal scorer. Don't take for granted that they have Patrick Kane just casually putting up 20 goals. It has been so much worse. Don't say they're still in the throes of the rebuild. They are not in the worst parts of the rebuild. I promise you, it was so much worse. It's like childbirth. Your brain just blocks out how painful it was.
No, genuinely, there's a 5-year span I could not differentiate rosters. It's just all the same cluster of mediocrity spread out.
There's going to be a lot of Michigan therapists getting calls tomorrow morning when their office is open.
They've already been getting it. They probably got 100 calls.
They brought it up again.
They probably got 100 calls when the city of Detroit tweeted that, the Detroit's going to be hosting playoff games and they named every single Detroit sports pro team other than the Red Wings in a 365-day span. Yeah, that one hurt.
Any more fun stats over there?
Yeah, 895 goals for Alex Ovechkin.
It's crazy because people always talk about unbreakable records, and everyone thought for sure that would not get broken in anyone's lifetime.
Dude,
and sure enough, the Alex Ovechkin, the Russian machine, does it.
And it's not even like he stayed an extra 4 seasons and just eked out 11, 13, 17 goal seasons. He fractured a bone in his leg this year, missed a bunch of games while he was on a hot streak, came back and broke it with games to spare. He is on a 56 game goal pace season as a 39-year-old.
He has 42 goals this year.
He missed 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks.
I can't even I'm going to hurt so bad tomorrow morning from 4 hours of pickleball.
You're talking to the regional 3rd place.
Yeah, that's pickup. Right. That's right.
They gave you a ring for that.
Whoa. That's my Patreon exclusive content, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm going to hurt so bad tomorrow morning. And the fact that he is scoring 42 goals in the NHL and he's significantly older than me is just incredible.
And I have to point out, Washington's not a sellout team who's just feeding him on the power play only and giving up smart looks. They are a cup contender this year. A Stanley, Lord Stanley's very own cup in this year, 2025. And he's out here putting up a 56 goal pace season, breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record. I put this out online. If you wrote this 10 years ago, if you wrote that this is how it would go, you would have been called stupid, and that would have been called detached from reality.
Oh, people were bringing up so many old takes. Old Takes Exposed was having a busy day on that one. But, like, who could blame them?
No.
Who's scoring 42 goals with a broken leg at 39 years old?
He already was the greatest goal scorer of all time. You look at era adjusted, he was there. You look at just, like, what he played with, he was there. I understand Gretzky's goal scoring fell off quite a bit after his back injury was the Canada Cup. His goal score, like, he just never really shot the same, but still, that record was untouchable for a long, long time. And it's not just how many goals you have to score in an era where there aren't as many goals. It's the longevity. Like, to do it consistently, to stay healthy, and Ovechkin plays a banging, like, hard stock game. Like, maybe not as much anymore, but full bore, like Hank Crisco, Brad's son, just straight into the opposing players, throwing 100 hits a shift and then banging home a goal.
Yeah, didn't I see a stat? He's also third all-time in hits or something insane like that. He's a machine, and that's part of what makes it incredible. It is the longevity and the health. And
third
like
all time.
I mean, he is obviously the peak of physical fitness. But
dude's built like a fridge, man.
Like, there's a couple things I want to get out of the way here. Like, you know, these, like, when something crazy and truly remarkable happens, like, again, I don't think the gravity of what happened today has fully set in on anybody yet. But there's like, oh, he's not my greatest goal scorer of all time. Mike Bossy is. Like, okay, he played exclusively in the 80s, and I'm not trying to diminish Mike Bossy. Ovechkin did this in a dead puck era. Like, let's be real here. Oh, he only stands in one spots and shoots.
That's not his problem.
Okay, but
it's also not true.
But it's not true, especially early in his career. He scored in a million different ways. But also, if he wasn't doing anything and he was just standing there and it was easy, why isn't anyone else doing it? Why is it just him that can do it like that at that level and set the all-time goals record? It's remarkable. He's the greatest shooter in the history of hockey. He's the greatest goal scorer in the history of hockey. He existed in an era where someone won the Art Ross with 87 points. Like, goal scoring has not been at an all-time high throughout his career. It's insane. And he's done it with one team, which, again, I don't think it's appreciated enough. We're spoiled as Red Wings fans that we've had a lot of players do it. That is not normal. That is absolutely not normal. He's got his Stanley Cup, so there's nobody that can say, oh, yeah, sure, he was just in it for the goals. He didn't do anything. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, I have trouble wrapping my head around this guy. This guy might have 900 goals by the end of the season. Like, that is not off the table.
I know he wants to go back to the KHL, go back to Russia when his contract's over. I would rather see him stay and see if he can hit 1,000.
Hell yes.
You have to imagine for a guy like, and I think last season he didn't come out in the best shape, which is why he started slower. And this season that wasn't an issue. But it's also, you're 39 years old. I can only imagine, Brad, that was like 30 years ago for you. I'm sure when that started at 39 years old, you didn't want to stay in the best shape of your life anymore. So now that he has this milestone, I'm sure he's going to just like, there's going to be some release in him after this season. Maybe.
He's going to go on a bigger scoring tear now.
Yeah, there's not a single beer uncracked in all of Long Island right now. And he's still popping 3 more this week.
Okay, actually, I have to ask you this, Evan. What do you think, before I make my comments on it, what do you think of them stopping the game to do the ceremony?
Bad.
You're so stupid.
Bad.
Evan.
Bad. Don't. I mean, it's the Islanders, so who gives a shit? But bad. Lou Lamoriello was probably dying somewhere. He was so pissed off.
They did it for Gretzky in what, 93, 94, whenever he broke that record. And it's worth noting, it's been that long since anybody's broken this record.
We're still doing a 30-year-old tradition. We're not evolving with the times. Bad.
I would have done more.
Bad.
I would have had people coming down from the ceilings, Tom Cruise.
That's way more interesting. Now you've piqued my interest.
I mean, and I usually reserve this for Brad. You are a moron.
Like, what else? When else do you break the all-time goal scoring record? Evan, you sit on this podcast with us two idiots and you say, the NHL doesn't do a good job at advertising itself. And you're saying,
they're advertising in-game to their own fan base. Very cool.
This wasn't their own fan base. Were you not online today? Everybody
was very busy, but we're saving that for the Patreon exclusive.
Okay, you and the rest of the geriatrics at Pickleball, I understand you had more important things to deal with. The entire sports world was locked into this. It didn't feel like a normal game. One of the things I remember most clearly about this game, and it's so weird. So obviously Ovi got it on the power play, as is tradition. When Engvall, I think it was Engvall, doesn't matter, got called for that penalty, you could hear a in the building. Like, everybody's like, oh, this is it. It's happening. Like,
those were the most expensive tickets at UBS Arena ever.
Like, it was insane. And like, LeBron's sending out videos to Ovi about this. Like, it transcended hockey. Like, this, again, is the perfect storm for the NHL. The Four Nations craziness into great playoff races, into this. Everybody, all eyes are on it going into the playoffs. This was perfect for the NHL. And yes, you honor the moment when everybody is watching.
Yeah, it was great. The team came off the bench. I thought that was awesome. But they sure made a meal of it.
Hey, can everyone wait like 30 minutes till the end of the game to celebrate this? So just think of your excitement, but save it because we have to watch the New York Islanders win in a 4-goal on 22-shot effort.
They could have probably just ended the game, to be honest.
You know what? That's actually a good comment.
That would have been better. Just end it right there.
If you are playing the Washington Capitals over the last, 6-7 games of the season and you don't have chances of the playoffs, it's golden goal if Ovi scores.
They had played about half the game by the time Ovechkin scored, so they probably could have just
it's a fifth inning rule in the MLB on a rain delay. Same thing. Oh, well, the Islanders, you had the lead, so enjoy the win, but we're wrapping it up here.
Oh, man. By the way, the Canadiens hung on to win, so they get the regulation win, which is terrible news for Detroit, but predictable because why would you count on the 2024-2025 Nashville Predators for anything? You mentioned Mike Bossy in there, and I just have to say, he is probably one of the more underrated what-if answers in the NHL. I know
100%.
People talk about Bobby Orr and a lot of other guys, but Mike Bossy is a guy where it's like, yeah, he transcended his peers. I understand it was a different era, but that guy is...
Oh, 1,000%. Like, I crap on the stat that he's the all-time leader in goals per game because it was the 80s, but that was still more than Gretzky in the 80s. It was still, well, maybe not in the 80s, but that was still up there with Gretzky, Lemieux, and all the other greats. What was it? There was a stat that came up, all-time goals per game. Ovi was obviously up there, Gretzky was up there, Lemieux was up there, and the other two that were right in that top 5 are probably the two biggest what-ifs in history because of bad injuries. Mike Bossy was there, and Pavel Bure was there. What I wouldn't have given for those guys to play 5 to 10 more years each.
Everything else on Gretzky aside, obviously that's a whole thing right now, but I thought it was very cool. Gretzky said, like, Gordy was here when I passed his record, and when he was following Ovechkin around, and today he had the Gordie Howe pin on his suit jacket today. So that was a nice little moment. I know Red Wings fans really appreciated that. So it's like Gordy was there too. Jokes aside, I think the NHL is absolutely right to make a mountain of this because we're probably, I don't know if Matthews will do it. I don't know if he has the longevity scoring he has all the talent to do it for sure, but talent and longevity aren't always tied together. There's a good chance we die without seeing that record broken.
We've seen talented shooters come and go because they don't have the consistency physically and from a health perspective, right? So, yeah, I mean, if everyone always talks about how Matthews could break it, but you got to be able to put in the seasons year over year, and the fact that Ovi was able to break this record in such an emphatic way, it's not like he limped into breaking this like he's a 40-plus goal scorer this season. It's truly incredible.
The only way this ever gets broken in our lifetime, because I don't know if there's a hockey player that we're aware of who has a chance at this. There could be like some 3-year-old covered in Cheerios watching Cocomelon right now that's going to do it in 30, 40 years. But
yeah, Brad, it's one of your kids, man. We know it.
God, please. I need a retirement plan.
How funny is it, though? 895 and counting career goals, greatest goal scorer of all time, and probably, I would say definitely the best goal of his career and one of the best goals of all time came in his rookie season.
With Wayne Gretzky right there on the bench watching.
Like, I know everyone thinks the era they grew up with is different. And that wasn't the era that we grew up with. That was like the next phase for us. But watching Ovechkin and Crosby, to his credit, broke another one of Wayne Gretzky's records, 20 seasons at point per game, which is speak about longevity. And Crosby has battled with a ton of major injuries. He is a what if in NHL history. And he's probably going to be on some people's Mount Rushmores. But watching those two in that era, like that was the NHL, much like the NBA after LeBron goes, the NHL is going to have a hard time after those two guys go. It's going to be hard to replace. They're fortunate to have, the McDavids, McKinnons now, but Ovechkin and Crosby, when are you ever going to get two of those guys coming to the game at the same time again?
And much like Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson, Alex Ovechkin, elite at two sports. Let's not forget, hole-in-one on his first ever round.
He doesn't even play golf, Evan. In his first try, got a hole.
I saw his swing. It's horrific.
I'm being so honest right now. His swing in that video is still better than 90% of my swings today.
It's absurd. Hockey is, when non-hockey professional athletes try to skate, they look so unathletic. Golf is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's terrifying that Ovechkin, the greatest shooter of all time, can have a golf swing like that.
I'm telling you,
what are you talking about? It went in the hole.
It did. How was the rest of his scorecard?
Well, that's true. When you got your holes in one, what did your swing look like, Evan?
It'll look like a single digit handicap when it happens.
Oh, that's crazy. Someone might glean that it hasn't happened yet.
If I get one this year, we're doing a banner raising ceremony in the new studio.
Are we going to pause the round? No, we're going to say, Evan, you have to wait till the end of the round. Wait until the puck goes in on 18 before you can celebrate your hole in one.
Okay, fair.
That's
fine.
Evan's one.
Fine. I'll let the sponsors know.
Oh God.
I'll let the VIPs, the ones inside the rope, know that they have to wait.
As much as this bit is funny to me, I actually would love to participate in a scorecard raising ceremony in the studio if Evan does it.
No, Brad, think about how good it's going to be when it's around that Evan and I played together and I made the ace.
I'll be very happy for you, but I'll also be like, this life is just cruel and unfair.
Oh, this is very much a 10 p.m. episode right now. Okay, let's jump into something productive here. Jake O'Brien is today's prospect profile, and an interesting one, probably our most honest one so far in terms of you're getting into the range where Detroit might be picking, an opportunity for them to grab a guy that we're going to discuss. Michael Misa's probably not in the cards, barring, on the flip side of the playoff conversation, a draft lottery win miracle. Jake O'Brien out of Brantford, OHL Rookie of the Year in the past. Another great season, is not in people's top fives, but is in around the 10 range. So who's Jake O'Brien? Where could he play for Detroit? And what do you see in his game?
Well, I'll just get ahead of it so everybody knows my bias before I get into it. This is my preferred pick for the Red Wings, given where they are.
We need like a sound.
Nah, it doesn't work.
No. Okay. No air horn.
But yeah, he's my preferred pick in that if the Red Wings are picking somewhere near 10, there's a realistic chance he might get to 10. I feel like he's going to go inside the top 10, but stranger things have happened. He's big, he's insanely skilled, and his best trait is the number one thing lacking in the Red Wings team system, whatever you want to call it. He's an elite playmaker. His vision is remarkable. And I'm not saying Raymond and Larkin are bad playmakers, and Max Plant coming up is obviously very good at it, but this guy could be that 50, 60 assist guy in the NHL if everything goes well. I don't think he's going to be a perennial 30, 40 goal scorer, although he has added that dimension to his game this year. I think he's up over 30 on the season. Obviously it's over now, but he got over 30 in the regular season. But he just, one of those players, when the puck is on his stick, everything's an option. And he's got the processing power and can play with enough pace that defenders can't defend him if he sees it. And he sees it way more often than he doesn't. Like, he was almost at 100 points as a 17-year-old in the OHL league.
Yeah, 98.
The dude can play, and he's got that elite offensive upside. And the fact that most of it comes via the pass is extremely enticing if you're a Red Wings fan.
Yeah, I look at Jake O'Brien, and I honestly don't see him as a guy who's going to go that far down. Premium position is already seen as two-way. I understand the questions about physicality and whatnot, but elite traits, plays a two-way game, projects as a centerman if he hits. That has climbing up the board written all over him. I understand it doesn't always work that way. We see centermen drop further down than they should sometimes, depending on what you thought of them, like Berkeley Catton kind of thing. But I don't know. I would be surprised really if Jake O'Brien was an option around 12, 13.
I don't think that's very realistic, but the scenario we've talked about in the last couple episodes is the only reason I have some optimism. We know who the big 4 or 5 forwards are in this draft, and you can assume they're going to go in the first 5, 6, 7 picks for sure. But we keep talking about teams prioritize defense. Teams are going to reach for defense. And if, Aitchison or Mertka or Smith get plucked late in the top 10, this could be one of the casualties that falls out of the top 10 because of it. Just because he may not be, the defense that gets picked ahead of him may not be more talented than him, but that team that's drafting really needs a defenseman, so they take the defenseman and he falls. Because on talent, this guy's top 10 all day, every day for me. He's closer to the top 5 than number 10. But the lack of physicality, the lack of defense in the top 10 gives me at least the slightest bit of hope that he could still be sitting there at like 11 or 12. And even if the Red Wings are picking 13, 14, that's well within trade-up range.
I sort of sit on the other side of the coin from you guys. I 100% agree that Jake O'Brien's passing ability and playmaking ability might be the best in this draft. It truly is his bread and butter, and it is absolutely elite, especially compared to his peers in this draft. My issue where I start to get some questions is half of his points he's produced this year at the OHL are on the power play. That's number one question for me. The next is his skating. A lot of scouts have made mention that it has improved this year, but his overall top end speed isn't that great. And there's a lot of video footage on his inability to beat defenders wide, change the pace, change his east-west skating. So that also gives me concern as well. I think he's really good off the wall. Like, he's really good in tight spaces. He processes the game at an elite level, and that's obviously why he will be in the top. We don't know how the draft's going to go, but he's absolutely one of the best 13 players in this draft. There's just a few things for me that give me pause where the other players we've talked about so far do not.
For me, when I see, like, I used to think skating was not like absolutely crucial, but way more crucial than it is now. And I think you can't be bad in a lot of other areas and also be
I don't think he's a bad skater.
No.
I think he's OHL average right now.
But I also think he is a smart enough player, like a cerebral enough player with the puck on his stick, that I don't think he needs to be a high-end skater to play his game.
He gives me, like, the Mark Stone, Ryan O'Reilly type vibes, where they're not the greatest skaters of all time, but they're so smart and they can process the game so much better than everyone else that they don't need to be the best skaters to find success. Those are just the little things that I've noticed about him that give me pause, and I haven't really had that about anyone else we've talked about so far, which isn't fair because we haven't talked a lot about guys who might be outside the top 10. So that's kind of where I fall on him. But like you guys said, he's got a lot of amazing traits, a lot of elite traits. I can certainly see him projecting as a middle 6 center at the NHL. It all depends how the draft plays out and who's sitting around him.
And you don't need to be fast to play fast, and he plays fast. Like, look at Lucas Raymond. He's not a burner, but like, he can make bang bang quick plays in the offensive zone, and things happen really quick when the puck's on his stick. But even to your point about the power play points, yeah, obviously being a bit of a power play merchant's a problem if that's a majority of your points, and if it's half his points, that's a decent percentage. But if you took away every one of his power play points, he's still not far off a point per game this year. His production was that ridiculous.
He's one of those guys. Obviously, we talked about, Misa and Hagens, and we're going to talk about more guys who are going to go near the top of the draft. They all fall in this bucket automatically, but I would actually make a trade to move up for O'Brien on the Red Wings this year.
1,000% yes.
For me, it all depends on who's sitting there in the draft.
Yeah, of course, and we still don't know where the Red Wings are going to end up, but he's intriguing enough. And we've watched the Red Wings now take, they took Kasper, they took Danielson, and you'd think that there's a second line center solution in there, but I don't think you stop taking those players just because you have two really great options that are out to some degree projectable now, but still question marks in the future.
So I was thinking about this, and I because there's a lot of, you have Danielson and Kasper at center and Larkin, and there it is. So you drafting O'Brien or another center to play wing. And we always talk about centers can go to wing. And the part of the conversation I don't think it's brought up enough is Jake O'Brien, let's say it's him, he's probably 2 years away from making the NHL.
At least, yeah.
Which at that point, he's probably getting broken in on the wing. That usually happens. The Red Wings do it all the time. So you do that for another year. Larkin's well into his 30s at that point. He might be the one that gets kicked over to the wing because he'd be starting to slow down at that point. Now, all of a sudden, if you're looking at, call it Danielson, Kasper, O'Brien down the middle, Larkin on the wing, which is a little more suitable to whatever his 31, 32, 33-year-old years, that might not be the worst idea in the world. I don't think Larkin's going to be one of these centers who ages poorly, but it is some nice insurance if he is.
Yeah, you're in the range now where the guys you're picking, you're not really picking them to be in their primes if the Red Wings are going to be competitive in a few years, to put it gently. Anyways, that's Jake O'Brien, and probably the first real you could maybe get excited about this guy with where the Red Wings are picking prospects so far. All right, another quick break here, and when we're back, the final segment on the Winged Wheel podcast. First, a word from our sponsors. Back after this.
We're going to overtime.
Overtime is brought to you by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/Winged Wheel podcast, for all the benefits I mentioned before, the bonus episodes, the giveaways, the Discord. Also, if you like these, our latest Winged Wheel podcast night with the Detroit Red Wings giveaway, this is the Detroit, if you're watching on YouTube, the Detroit Red Wings Winged Wheel podcast barber pole style jersey. So you got the sweet barber poles logo on the front, Wings logos on the shoulders, and then on the back is the Winged Wheel podcast logo. We can't sell them. It's officially like licensed Red Wings NHL merch, but we can give them away to our patrons. So we have extra that we always grab for giveaways and for Patreon rewards as well. So that is just another perk of being a Patreon supporter. Also, speaking of Winged Wheel podcast night, everyone was so kind. Jack of Patreon supporter Jack's dad he made us some artwork. Some of it's on display here on the podcast table. Someone made me a friendship bracelet.
Yep, I got one too.
Yeah, which is pretty sweet. Love those events. It's great. And we're actually kind of painting ourselves into a corner here because I don't know how we're going to now top the barber pole jersey. We're going to have to really think hard this offseason for next year. All right. Questions from our patrons. The Danny Man Can talks about how Talbot bailed out the team at the end of the game. Says the 6-on-5 is horrible. Multiple times, two guys were trying to cover the puck up top, including on the goal. Are there any practices left for McLellan to work on that? No, it is. What you have is what you have. You are on hole 15 on a long day on a very up and down round of golf. You are not working on your swing.
This is it.
Won't stop me from trying, but this is your team is your team. Like, we've watched a lot of late game Tarasenko lately.
It ain't it.
No.
He's trying. I'll give him that. He's not a guy I would question the effort on. It's the effectiveness of said effort.
Just like, it shouldn't have to be out there. Just should be on the bench. That's it. Joseph Barry says all of these players were players selected to the Hockey Hall of Fame and bypassed the standard 3-year waiting period. Dick Clapper in 1947, Maurice Richard in 1961, Lindsay in 66, Kelly in 69, Sawchuk in 71, Beliveau in 72, Howe in 72, Orr in 79, Lemieux in 97, Gretzky in 99. My question is, out of the following names, who, if any, are going to bypass the standard waiting period? Connor McDavid, Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby, Cale Makar.
Crosby and Ovechkin.
Yeah.
McDavid will get there, but as of now, no.
If their careers ended The question's tough to answer because you got two guys in their mid to late 30s and two guys who are very much in the middle of their careers, maybe even the beginning, depending on how long they play. So it's tough.
If McDavid gets a cup and his career continues on the same trajectory, like he'll be right there in that Ovechkin Crosby tier. Kale, I'm less certain on. Like, as sick as he is, there's other defensemen who are in the same category as him, although he's probably the best of the group. McDavid, Ovechkin, Crosby are in a tier of their own.
If they didn't do Lidstrom.
Yeah. I mean, we're biased, but I agree. Like,
And I should say, I don't think these guys are going to bypass the 3-year. I think the NHL has completely scrapped that, or the Hockey Hall of Fame has completely scrapped that. So
I think Ovi and Crosby go year one.
Who knows? There's no transparency. We'll never know how their voting works.
I don't think Makar, like if I had to project it out, I think Crosby, Ovechkin, decent chance McDavid, Makar.
Well, we're about to get the litmus test because if they're going to bypass the 3-year waiting period, the next person to get it should absolutely be Yager.
That's a good point.
Well, he would have to retire first.
I think he said this is it. This is his last year.
Well, he's going to come back and play in the NHL.
Yeah, Claudeneau's going to need another saving again, and he's going to come back again. He's like Fernando Alonso, that guy. Anyhow, Jonathan Melwish says, so with Ovi breaking an unbreakable record, is there another hockey record that might not be that unbreakable as it seems? Could honestly be this goals record now that you've seen it fall once, right? Not that it's going to happen often. I will say I misread this question at first, and I thought it was what record is truly unbreakable, and you know which one
Assists,
that is?
Right?
Glenn Hall.
It's Glenn Hall.
What's that one?
502 consecutive games started as a goalie.
Oh, that'll never happen.
Never. Just the game's not the same anymore.
Like, it's a huge story. Who is it? Vejmelka in Utah is creeping up on 20 straight starts, and that's like a huge deal.
And like he was still playing in 70-game seasons, so it's not like he was playing 26 games and then taking 8 months off, you know? Like, that is just not going to be touched.
You know what record I think probably, it's not like an untouchable record, but I think this shutout record I could see falling.
Yep, I could see the shutout record. Harder in the modern NHL now, though, with...
Well, yeah, it's got to be some level of difficulty or else it's like cheating the question, right?
What do you think about single goals in a season? Does that ever get touched?
92? God, no. If Ovi didn't do it, nobody's doing it. And the thing is, not only did Ovi not do it, he never got close. Like 65 is what he maxed at.
I don't know, man.
Like, even what's the greatest goal scoring season we have seen since the 2000s when Matthews almost hit 70?
Yeah.
Cool. He was still over 20 goals short.
Yeah, he was at 69 goals.
Yeah.
Nice.
There we go. It all seems like we would have said goals record 10 years ago, so you never know. Listening to Ryan Hanna in the shower says, sup dub-dubs, here's a few who would you rather have questions. These are tough ones. Faber or Sanderson? Sanderson looks nice, man.
So I'll just say this. I like Faber more, but I think Sanderson is more of what the Red Wings need, especially as a lefty.
Can't go wrong. Power or Edvinson?
Oh,
ask a Buffalo Sabres fan what they think.
Edvinson.
I bet
all
she's
say
Edvinson.
Yes. Yeah, actually, someone tweeted the last time, it was a Buffalo Sabres account, they tweeted the last time Buffalo Sabres made the playoffs, Ovechkin had like 500 and something goals left for the record. Nobody hates their own team like the Sabres fan. For good reason.
Yeah.
Jarvis or Boldy?
Boldy,
yeah.
Jarvis is a funny guy.
That's true.
For the vibe.
Yeah.
That boosts him a bit.
See when they asked him if he'd ever want to be a GM, and he was like,
no.
Stützle or Raymond? Lucas Raymond. I don't care. Yeah. Biased, I don't care.
Yeah, I like someone who doesn't dive.
I could not bear to watch how Stützle dives. Oh my God.
Okay, hold on. I got to throw it out there. The way he dives,
it's soccer style.
And
there's an NHL embellishment, and then there's the way he dives.
And then there's like the guys who wear the tinted visor and it looks sick. And then there's the guys who wear tinted visors and they look like effing nerds in beer league. And that's what Stützle looks like with that thing. He looks ridiculous. He does not pull that off.
I saw a post and it was like, Stützle gets into it. Good on him for standing up for himself. I'm like, he went up, the whole clip, he did nothing. He we've all watched Dylan Larkin over the years sell a call. He sells calls. And because he wants a power play. Dylan Larkin also probably takes more chops and hacks at his neck and uncalled BS out of anyone else in the league. That's all, like, say what you want about it in the moment. That's what happens in today's NHL. Stützle dives like actual soccer dives. I'm like, that Get that out of the game. It drives me insane. Insanely talented player. Great argument. Ottawa fans would have a great argument in the Stützle versus Raymond argument. Like that's very neck and neck.
No, that's not a good argument. He's a nerd.
Raymond gets in there and will mix it up despite being not a big guy. Like
big little brother energy.
Drives me. I cannot stand it. I feel like Rock'em Sock'em era Don Cherry watching it and commentating on it, but I'm like, it's actually sad to watch. Just go out there and be talented, dude.
What would Don Cherry call?
Don Cherry would climb
little Timmy Schnitzel out here in Ottawa, dive in like it's the Olympics.
That is 1,000% accurate. That's 100% what he'd say. Not even as an insult, he would just get the name wrong. And then last one here, Celebrini or Bedard?
Celebrini.
Could you not say Celebrini right now?
If you took me back to game 1 of this year, I wouldn't even consider Celebrini.
We talked about it at Celebrini's draft. Like, he had all the makings to be another Bedard type, but Bedard has been shockingly struggling, and that's a big Blackhawks thing. And Celebrini has been living up to every single bit of hype that he had.
Well, he's just more of a complete player. Like, there's no flaws in Celebrini's game. I don't think he's not the goal scorer that Bedard is, and I think at their peak, Bedard will outscore him like goals comfortably. But there's just so much more to Celebrini's game that makes him more valuable.
You don't make the comparison like you're actually going to say they have the same career, but when people say Sidney Crosby, I'm like, I see it.
The Celebrini Bedard is kind of the poor man's Crosby Ovechkin.
Not that poor, just younger. Well,
yeah,
poor still. No,
yeah, like
poor.
You got the well-rounded guy who will probably have more points versus the unreal goal scorer. Like,
yeah,
it's the same dynamic.
Macklin Celebrini is mature beyond his years, and we probably should have seen this rookie season coming.
I also think Celebrini would have had more hype around him if there wasn't like Bedard fatigue.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
That you can't do that year in, year out. People don't buy it. The same way like Owen Power wasn't Bedard level. The
Taylor versus Tyler.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself by saying that. Let's move on.
Yeah, well, if we dated ourselves this whole episode, I think, is that we were dating ourselves because we're all yawning because it's past 10 p.m. Zach Freeland, brand new patron. Zach, thank you so much for becoming a Patreon supporter. Says, hey guys, been a listener for a few years now and finally becoming a patron to say thanks for all the quality content. My question is, do you think the next Red Wings 40 goal scorer is currently in the system? Who are the most likely suspects outside of the Cat? Yeah, it's Lucas Raymond.
Yeah.
I'd say it's Lucas Raymond.
That's really the only viable one that I'm thinking of.
Buchelnikov?
I was going to say, if everything goes exactly right, Buchelnikov's a lethal enough goal scorer, maybe, but
MBN's got a good shot.
Brad,
I know. I'm just trying to throw names out there.
No, but it's so unpredictable at this point, right? Like, you come into the NHL and you are a force on a strong power play team. You don't need to be. You could be a second line winger and put up 40 on a good team. I don't think it's crazy to think one of a lot of guys. Is it likely that they're all going to do it? Absolutely not. But Buchelnikov, sure. I think MBN with his shot. If you have the shot, then you're a candidate in my mind.
Yeah.
Honestly, stupid though it sounds, because it's not like he's going to take a big leap from here. If the Red Wings are substantially better, Dylan Larkin is a player who could put up 40. He has to have a full season of consistency and health, and those two things he hasn't had this year. But Raymond and Larkin on this team, obviously, DeBrincat not counting.
Their best players and their best prospects could be 40 goal scorers.
It's a hot take, I know.
Axel, Sandin, Pellikka, whatever. We're going crazy. It's 10:15 at night.
Axel, Sandin, Pellikka just turns into prime Mike Green.
Turns into prime Cale Makar.
It's actually Lane Hudson when he demands a trade back to his hometown team.
Agreed.
Yeah.
To play with his brother.
Jake O'Brien.
Mark Stahl comes out of retirement, just 40 piss missiles from the top of the circles. All right.
Patrick Kane just decides he's going to stop passing.
You've all been subjected to enough. We're going to wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to jump to our Patreon exclusive overtime so Evan can give you the tale of how he came third place. And actually, sorry, I keep spoiling the story.
Excuse me, it's not your story to tell. Yeah. Move us along.
Thank you to these sponsors of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Coffee Cult, phenomenal coffee. We are, one, very excited to have a coffee sponsor. It fits the Winged Wheel Podcast, especially this episode. But two, the coffee is seriously good. Please try it out. Thank you to Coffee Cult for supporting the show. Thank you to all the sponsors of the Winged Wheel Podcast. To all of our listeners, new and old, appreciate you spending your time with us as we go off the rails on this episode. And to all of you who support us on Patreon, we could not do this show without you. Patreon.com/Winged Podcast if you want to support the show. And if you want to do more for the Winged Wheel Podcast, but Patreon's not for you, honestly, just subscribing wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Hit the thumbs up button, the star rating, the writing the review, tell a friend about the show. All of that helps a ton. To our name level supporters on Patreon, we could not do this without you. Arjun Shankar, Matt Keeler, Yves Bartels on behalf of the Sarah Ground Foundation, THL Champ, Samuel Soderholm, Icon, Glenn Brabham, Sea Lion, Matthew M. Rice, Adam Rose, Adam Zuiza, Admiral Matt S. of the Cheesebag Navy, Alex Toger, Anna Sleeman, Asher Killian, Beer League Legend, Best James Bond, Carl Bertina Nanalewski, CB55, Citizen High Five, Clip Clop Nene, Connor Scovey, Craig Kibble, Denny's Gamer Girl, Derek Enstam, DJ Denton, Eric Hill, Give Blood Fight Probert, Goose Looney's Drinking Club, Grand Rapids Girly, Griffin God Creatives, Hatrick Sandin, Pellikka, Hockeytown Love, Hockeytown Matt, Hassam Al-Qassem, I don't even want to watch playoffs anyway, Jay Gollum, Jacob Turner, James McLean, a.k.a. Jambo, Jeff Pridemore, Jennifer Morris, John Ingalls, Jonathan Miller, Kaylin Wood, Lunchbox, Mark Hernandez, Marty, Matt McKay, Michael Edlund, Mr. Kuzi, Now I Have to Learn How to Click on a Macintosh, R.A., Podgy713, Richard Perkins, Roy Dunk, Sam Bankson, Stephen Ortlieb, That's What I Appreciate About You, Wallman's Elite Dancing D, Wings Fan in Chicago, Iser Plan Stan, Aaron Hudson, General Andy Bohan of the Cheesebag Army, A.A. Ron, Albert Johansson, All Motor No Hands, and Stanislavski, Another Feature Consideration, Baked Starfish, Bellingham Acid Balls, Bex, C.E. Hayes, Chris Felinsky, Commander Ben Barron of the Cheesebag Space Force, Connor Layton, Corey Prida, Darren Fick, Drop the Puck, Dylan Larkin, Trade Sacrifice, Eric Nance, Evan Beckner, Evans Ham Radio, Gene Sullivan, Grepsky, Griffey Boy, James Pridemore, Johnny Page, Jeremiah Dobo, Jim, JM Rhapsody, Josh Yeltsin, Chaotic Monkey, Kevin McCracken, Quaz, Linda Hall, Lonnie Zone, Lucas Raymond, Mitch Minier, Morningwood, Ophelia, As Good As It Gets, Roy Mudbutt, Ryan M, Sandy P, Right Hand D, Shame on a Chungus who tried to run game on a Chungus, Steven, that other guy, the Hodag, the Hat 123, Trent Thorough, Wings Fan, and St. Louis Scott. Appreciate you, buddy, and your second favorite patron. Thank you all so very much. We're going to get some sleep.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to visit wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find ways to support the show, like Patreon, official podcast merchandise, and more. And don't forget to follow us on X at Winged Wheel Pod, at Ryan Hanna, WWP, at Brad Crisco, and at Hockeytown Evan, as well as Winged Wheel Podcast on Instagram.